or before we close for the night. The final number 7, the final question, which is number 7, and it's the last 50-mark question. So the question reads, I hope I'm not reading the answer now. Let me don't make that mistake. So the question reads, GlobalTech Logistics Ltd is a multinational transport and supply chain company operating across West Africa. For the year ended 31st December 2024, the company engaged Kalu and Partners, Chartered Accountants, to perform the annual audit. The company has recently invested in modern technologies to support its operations and improve efficiency. This includes A private blockchain system to track logistics and verify data transactions. B, AI-powered predictive analysis to optimize inventory and route management. C, migration of accounting systems to a cloud-based ERP platform. D, adoption of data analytics tools to internal control monitoring and anomaly detection. E, a previous long-term engagement with their former audit firm ended following regulatory enforcement of audit partner rotation rules. The audit team must assess the implications of these new technologies on audit planning, procedures, and reporting required. How does the use of blockchain technology affect the audit of GlobalTech's logistics and transaction systems? B, what considerations should the audit team have in evaluating the impact of AI tools used in GlobalTech's operations? 3 marks. C, discuss the benefits and challenges of using cloud-based audit tools in the audit of GlobalTech. D, explain the importance of audit firm or partner rotation in the context of GlobalTech's change in audit firm. Wow. Quite a mixed, a complex question, I must confess. And it's testing our understanding of auditing in highly technological and regulatory environments. Wow. Covering emerging technologies, really emerging technologies around blockchain, AI, cloud, and data analytics. And also the ethical requirement, the now injected ethical requirement of auditor rotation. Complex question. Okay, it's good. At least it will help us to prepare adequately. So you observe that the question is a tech audit focused question. The scenario involves a heavy reliance on technology, blockchain for transactions, AI for operations, cloud enterprise resource planning for accounting, and data analytics for controls. And our primary challenge is gathering sufficient appropriate audit evidence from these automated sources, which is a primary challenge generally for auditors. So aside the tech audit focus issue on this case, you see that there's also the ethical and regulatory component, which is part D. Yeah, the ethical and regulatory component of the question, which introduced the mandatory rotation of auditors. And our understanding was tested around the purpose and the safeguard against principally and primarily familiarity threat. So that's generally why there should be a rotation of auditors to avoid familiarity threat. Okay, quite a technical question. So let's look at the answers. And you see that the solution is actually strong, identifying the key audit implications for each technology. So for example, blockchain immutability affects evidence reliability, and also AI requires testing for bias and also documentation. All right. Okay, so let's see what to and how to write. Number 1, the A part is, how does the use of blockchain technology affect the audit of GlobalTech's logistics and transaction systems? Okay. So what do we write? You need to think about what to write first in every question. And in writing, you need to write around blockchain's core feature. What is the core feature of blockchain? Though we've not come to that, but we'll look at that. The first feature is immutability. Immutability. One of the features around immutability is the distribution of ledgers, which speaks to data recorded in highly reliable environment, and it regards very good completeness and existence and occurrence. So blockchain's core feature is immutability and the distributed ledger and the recording of data, which is highly reliable, looking at the completeness and existence and occurrence. And you see that the audit shifts focus from testing individual transaction to testing the integrity of the blockchain network and the smart contracts that automate transactions. So generally, that's what blockchain does. It's actually immutable and very good in the area of completeness, existence, and occurrence. So those are where your thoughts should center around. And how do you write that? You need to explain the benefits of using blockchain, which is one of them is reliability and also traceability. So explain that benefit, and you see the examiner did that. And also the corresponding shift in audit procedures, speaking to testing the IT system, smart contracts, and not just the ledger. So that's how you write the part A. And for the part B, what considerations should the audit team have in evaluating the impact of AI tools used in GlobalTech's operations? So for the part B now, you need to center your thoughts around AI models. Center your thoughts in what to write around AI models are complex forms of automated application controls that involve estimation actually and judgment. So the auditor must access the governance of artificial intelligence, ensuring that the model is documented, the model is free from bias, which could lead to misstatement if it has bias and issues embedded in it, and that the model's output are traceable and explainable. So that's the auditor must assess the governance around this AI is very important. And how do you write that? You need to focus on the need for auditability. Most of these AI models should be auditable. There should be documentation, there should be bias testing and explainability around this model. So the auditor must understand how the AI provides outputs around optimized inventory levels, which was employed in this case, and the impacts on the financial statements around inventory valuation, for example. So that's how to write the answer, but you need to practice it very, very seriously. Practice around this so that it will sink in. It may be challenging at first sight to understand how these answers could be provided under exam conditions. So please practice around this. And maybe you have to, before we come to the lectures, maybe go through last diet's video. Last diet video on this before we come to the lecture so that you understand in case you may need to answer this question without any options. All right, so for the C part, we need to discuss the benefits and challenges of using cloud-based audit tools in the audit of GlobalTech. All right, so for the C part, the benefits and challenges of cloud-based audit tools, 3 marks. So what do you write? This refers to the auditor's use of technology. The auditor needs to use technology around audit, data analytics, cloud-based work tools. And what are the benefits? The benefits speaks to real-time access to data. Yeah, that's one of the good benefits about cloud-based work tools. Real access to data. We use cloud-based systems here. You just work from home. When you get to the house, you put on your internet and everything you did in the office, you are accessing it at home. So those are one of the benefits of all this cloud-based data. The real access to data, enhanced collaboration, and efficient data analysis. Then one of the challenges is data security, confidentiality risks, and the need to assess the reliability of the service provider. So for example, SOC reports and all that. So how do you write that? You need to provide at least 2 balance points for each section, covering the operational advantages and the associated security and confidentiality risks around using cloud-based audit tools. Okay, so that's for the 3 marks part C question. And for the D part, we're to explain the importance of audit firm or partner rotation in the context of GlobalTech's change in audit firm. Yeah, this is 6 marks. So we should be able to provide context to this. Very good context. and earn good 6 marks here. This should not be easy. This should not be a challenge for us at this point. So for the importance of the audit firm or partner rotation, which is 6 marks, what do you write? The rotation is actually a mandatory safeguard. We know that against the familiarity threat and self-interest threat that builds up over long years with the same engagement or the same client. So it's important for, the importance of mandatory rotation is to maintain auditor independence and objectivity, ensuring that the auditor retains a professional skepticism and provides a fresh perspective on risk and controls. So auditor rotation or the change creates the initial audit risk of the auditor lacking historical knowledge, but then as time goes on, he gets used to the job. So that's what to write. Then how do you write it? You need to explain the threats mitigated when audit rotation is enhanced or facilitated. The threats mitigated are familiarity, self-interest. Then the detailed benefits are around fresh eyes coming to check the job, enhance credibility. And then we have the associated risk also around lack of institutional knowledge or loss of institutional knowledge by the outgone auditor. And they required more time for ISA 510 procedures for the new audit or incoming auditor. So those are the risks, but I think the benefits outweigh the risks generally. So you should end that 6 marks very easily, I think. In my opinion, that should make you consider this question, maybe. All right, so general strategies. How do we end the marks? Try to link tech to risk. So for all the technology questions around part A, part B, part C, clearly connect the technology's characteristics to the auditor's ability to gather sufficient appropriate evidence, which is essentially everything about audit. You should be able to gather evidence, and to the risk of material misstatement. So try to use technical terms. Use terms like immutable ledger for the blockchain questions, smart contracts, governance, bias, statement of compliance report, familiarity threat, ISA 5, all those terms you see, try to practice with that so that you provide clarity in your submission. Also, the proactive response, your answers should reflect the need for the audit team to employ IT specialists or data scientists to audit these complex systems if the auditor does not have requisite knowledge in those areas. Okay, so for the marking key, 3, 3, 3, and 6 marks, which is 15 marks. For the part A question, you need to focus on immutability. Immutability means enhancing evidence reliability on the question. So focus on immutability, the shift in testing to the system, smart contracts, and the required involvement of IT specialists for the part A 3-mark question. And be guided for the part B also, which is 3 marks. Key considerations are around governance, which is testing and documentation of the model. And secondly, bias assessment, speaking to ensuring objective outputs, and also verifying the explainability and traceability of AI-based judgments that affect financial reporting. So those are the key considerations for the part B question. And for the part C, which is 3 marks, the benefits include collaboration, access to data, but the challenges include data security, confidentiality, and the need for the auditor to access the third-party service provider controls. So those are your thoughts generally to end the 3 marks around part C. And for part D, which is 6 marks, you need to secure your marks for identifying the mitigated threats to lack of rotation, talking about familiarity and self-interest, and explain the core benefits of auditor rotation, which is maintaining independence, objectivity, and bringing in fresh perspectives. And also detailing. Yes, please.
The answer I was given here is different from what you're saying.
Okay.
The D part of it.
Yeah, the D part. Yes, please. What's different about what I'm saying?
The audit partner rotation help maintain. Is that the part rotation you're referring to?
Yes, please.
Okay, you are adding additional points.
Yes, I'm just adding points, just picking thoughts around self-interest, intimidation, and all that. You can add that, maybe because it's not included here. You can add all those thoughts around that. Remember, it's 6 marks.
Why would they give us this mark and they're giving us 3 points?
Yeah, so he's saying that two points for each of those marks.
Okay.
That's what the examiner is saying, yeah. But then any thoughts around self-interest, intimidation, please, you can bring it in. I think I will do this. I will do the same. You mustn't write mostly copy what he said. You can say it in another way anyway. So I'm just sharing my thoughts generally around his solution is actually a guide. So just be guided by how he provided his solution. That's all.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for that engagement. Okay, so I was speaking to securing the marks, saying things around mitigating threats of familiarity and self-interest, and you need to explain the core benefits of maintaining independence, objectivity, and injecting perspective, which is why audit rotation is needed, and also detailing the drawback, which is lack of historical knowledge, and the response, needing robust ISA 510 review and all that. So that should be the disadvantage of auditor rotation. Okay, so the concepts and principles tested and how we should study, because we should always use this pilot to study. We have a lot of questions and answers, but please also use the pilot to study and revise. And the concept and principles tested and how we should use it to study around emerging technologies in audit, speaking to blockchain and AI. And the question tests the auditor's knowledge of how to test evidence integrity in new data structures around blockchain's ledger, and how to evaluate the risk of automated judgment around AI bias and the lack of objectivity. Secondly, auditing data analytics, ADA, and cloud-based systems. You see that the question tests the benefits and risk of the auditor's own use of technology and the risk of the client using third-party systems based on ISA 402 around service organizations. And also ethics and independence rotation was tested, talking about mandatory safeguard for public interest companies or due to regulation under the ICAN Code of Ethics, ICAN Code of Ethics to maintain the appearance and fact of independence was tested. Then ISA 510 on initial engagement or initial audit engagement, the audit firms change, which triggers the requirements of ISA 510, requiring review of opening balances and communication with the predecessor auditor. So you need to study and focus on the audit implications of the tech tsunami question and the mandatory safeguards related to auditor independence. So generally, another tech question, just like question 6, was presented in this question, and chapter 15 was also tested. Number 1 chapter that was tested. Current issues around developments in emerging technologies, ethical issues related to rotation. Chapter 16 was also explicitly tested around application of IT, which is the impact of IT on the audit environment. Chapter 3 was tested professional and ethical issues around integrity, objectivity, and independence related to rotation rules was tested. And part of chapter 5 was tested around quality management for professional firms and engagement practice management, speaking to changes in the professional appointments. So that was implicitly tested. And so those 4 chapters, chapter 15, chapter 16, chapter 3, and chapter 5. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for the last question on the pilot question and answers.